Silo Season 3 kicked off last Friday with an absolute whirlwind of an episode. We've learnt about some new characters, we've seen what's happened to some of our favourites from Seasons 1 and 2, and we got a bunch of clues and details from the before times. I thought I would do a video where I break down the episode, provide my analysis, and theorise as to what is going to happen for the remainder of Season 3. I'm going to start first with all of the action in the silo, and then discuss the before times. So first, shockingly, we kick the episode off discovering that Jules has already become mayor. At this point, she has no idea as to what her likes and dislikes are because of this memory loss. We also see her take some pills. Camille Sims, who is now the head of IT, is waiting for her and she's about to walk into the cafeteria. There is crowds of people all cheering at her. She is now some sort of celebrity in the silo because of course she's the first person to go outside and come back completely alive. This scene provides the first biggest clue of the episode. We see Regina Jackson, George's ex-girlfriend, try to trade and hand off a relic, and that relic is a sheriff's badge. At first, I thought this was the badge that had truth engraved into the back. Then I remembered that was the badge that Jules left outside with Holston Becker. My current theory is that this is an attempt to get relics specifically of Juliette or her family to essentially give back to her at some point in order to try and jog her memory. Or it may be at the moment that in the silo, given Juliette's new status, these are going for quite the pretty penny in the silo, and she's just trying to get a quick buck. Interestingly, Juliette sees Regina and then says that she wants to go. Perhaps even on some subconscious level, she recognises her. We see Jules having her sleep disturbed by essentially what she perceives as a nightmare. It's all fragmented, she can't fully put it together, but she remembers having a conversation with Bernard outside of the airlock, and she has this feeling that she needs to do something. Juliette's own brain is fighting to get the truth out, but of course, this is being suppressed by the pills that she's being forced to take. Camille Sims is now head of IT and Robert Sims is now the judge. The two of them are now running the silo. The voice that she talks to inside of the vault is what is encouraging her to keep giving the pills to Juliette. It is the pills themselves that are stopping Jules from being able to remember going outside. Jules learns from Sims that she was in the airlock for 3 minutes. She would have been completely oxygen starved, but because she had a fireproof suit on, that is why she's alive. He then tells her that Bernard was not so lucky because he wasn't wearing one of those suits. However, we learn this is a lie. In the following scene, we learn that Bernard actually did survive, and the only reason he is dead is because Sims suffocated him. Even though Bernard wasn't in a fireproof suit, he was actually killed by Sims after they got him out the airlock. The first council meeting is a big opportunity for us to see some of the characters from the previous seasons. We start with Harwood, who is the head of mines. We basically learn that there has been a tunnel collapse within the past couple of days. We also get the information that the silos are around 300 years old by his estimates, and that there is hundreds of miles of tunnels, but as we know, they can only dig so far. Jules questions as to why this is, and if there is a way to adapt things within the pact. We also learn later on in the episodes that Billings has been working on the pact and hoping to shift some things permanently. This is probably an attempt by Camille and Robert Sims to try and maintain the peace by giving the people in the silo just enough to keep them happy, but also maintain a sense of order. The mines are completely unstable, and he even says he's surprised this doesn't happen every week. We have huge issues with the tunnels of the silo, and I'm wondering if as the season goes on, is curiosity basically going to get the better of some people and they're going to want to dig further? Secondly, we meet a new character called Orla Kent. We learn that Carla is basically retiring and she is taking over as the head of supply. Just the sheer mention of Carla's name, you can see the cogs start turning for Juliette. She is already trying to rack her brain around who that is and try to work out why the name means something to her. Orla, ironically, uses the phrase "we are good in supply," and Jules remembers the message that was sent to her while she was in waiting to go outside. They are good in supply. I wasn't sure about the memory loss trope and how that would kind of come together. It felt a little bit cliche to me, but as the episode played on, I realised how well it's being done. Jules hasn't just lost her memory is being deliberately suppressed, and we are seeing both sides of that, and I think it makes it really interesting. We're slowly going to see Jules unravel her own mystery, as well as how Camille and Robert are going to try and stop that. We then get to hear from Knox. He explains how, thanks to what Jules did, the generator is still working perfectly fine, so they have no main mechanical silo issues. Thanks to Jules, the silo is operating perfectly well. Way back in season 1, we see of this completely hollow space below the silo. Knox here labels it the Digger Void. He explained that essentially during the rebellion, a bunch of idiots went down there to see what it was and what was going on. Even a few had to be rescued. He explains how Walker has taken it upon herself to make sure it stays sealed and that no one can go down there. Of course, we know there's probably more to it than that. Not only has Billings been working on the Pact, lately his job is to try and track down the 2 fugitives. One is Patrick Kennedy and the other Lucas Kyle. Patrick Kennedy has remained elusive, but Kyle is believed to be dead. We also hear of something called the Outsiders. This is a gang that they believe are working for Kennedy to try and disrupt the peace and try and get more information. Right now, the main threat to both Camille and Robert Sims. Although fractions of Juliette's memory is coming back, she doesn't remember Knox or Shirley, and of course that's heartbreaking for them. Even Hank is completely distraught that not only does he have to explain his own name, but also explain to her how her dad died. Jules says there's no one to blame for the rebellion except Bernard. We can already see the way that Robert and Camille Sims have been kind of working their ideas through Juliette, manipulating her to truly believe that Bernard was the bad guy. Jules explains to Shirley that she has this feeling that she needs to do something. She talks to her about the conversation she had with Bernard outside the airlock, and Shirley, completely wanting to shut the conversation down, just says no and walks away. And as you can imagine, this is someone she has grown up with. It's her best friend, and her own best friend doesn't even recognise her. But you can see there's this part of Jules' subconscious that is trying to cling on to people that she feels knows her better than she knows herself. She's clawing for answers, even though they're not coming. These outsiders that we learn about have not only now broken into IT and stolen a helmet, but they also put this banner up on the stairwell. This is the truth, the display is a lie, which is what Patrick Kennedy believed at the end of season 2. One of the outsiders gets hit by a member of Judicial, and we can assume they've damaged or maybe even broken their wrist. This is also seen by the people watching the cameras in the janitor room. In one of the shots, we can see their face. The question is, who is this person? My current theory is that this is actually Harwood's daughter, and somehow she has got herself working for Kennedy. Now, if Kennedy believes that the outside is lush and green and that the display is a lie, and he's got people to go and steal a helmet for him, does that mean he's going to try and go out? He's already seen Juliette come back alive, so why wouldn't he want to give it a go? I wonder if that is going to occur in the following episodes. Seeing this banner immediately triggers something for Juliette, and she remembers when she was stood outside. She remembers the helmet malfunctioning and how she started to see the outside for what it really was. Speaking of the display, when stood in the cafeteria, Jules starts to get another memory back. Juliette asks Camille, "How did I get in?" and she reminds her that Bernard opened the doors. Jules says, "Yeah, but I didn't know that was going to happen, so I must have came prepared." Then she remembers that she had a crowbar, but she didn't use that crowbar to necessarily get into Silo 18. She used it to get into Silo 17. She remembers prying it open as well as hacking at her own helmet because she couldn't breathe. Camille, beginning to recognise the problem here, begins to try and calm her down, but not for Juliette's well-being. She's trying to stop her from remembering that she went into another silo and that theirs isn't the only one. She says, "I think it's time we watched it again." They have been showing Juliette a fake CGI footage of a refuge hut. They basically are trying to convince her that she went into a safe house of sorts, found the fire suit, and then made her way back to the silo, which we know that she didn't. Camille, very concerned, discusses this with the AI voice within the vault. What it then does is encourages her to double Juliette's dosage. After the opening credits, it cuts directly to the before times, and we see a character called Charles Keene. We later find out that her brother Daniel is the guy that we saw in the finale of season 2. Charles walks into a hotel, changes clothes, and then heads to a train station where they are acting very suspiciously. They believe they're being watched, they get on the train, and then they get off. Clearly concerned with what's going on, she asks Daniel to meet her at a park bench. We learn that Daniel was previously an engineer within the army, and Charles, or Charlotte, works in the Navy. This is where, in my opinion, the biggest clue of the episode is revealed. We find out Daniel, to some degree, invented a drill, one specifically that helped in New Orleans. Charles is being super standoffish, she clearly can't reveal a lot of information, but she encourages him to get on the Iran committee, and whatever he learns he needs to reveal to a reporter. Charles clearly thinks there's something about to happen and that these are desperate times, and she wants him using his power to get this information out to the public. After being welcomed as the hero of New Orleans, we learn that Daniel Keene built a drill that somehow helps you work underground without disturbing the ground on top. Have we, simply in episode 1 of season 3, already learned who possibly builds the silos? We can see that based on Charlie's orders, Daniel is trying to get on the Iran committee. We also learn that it's very unlikely that's going to happen. Although he doesn't get on the Iran committee, he does get a message that his sister is flying an F-35 out over Iran tonight. Now, this is arguably one of the most crucial sequences of the episode. We see Charles flying in a fighter jet, heading towards a giant, mysterious dust cloud. As they work their way into it, all of their machinery, all of their instruments start to malfunction. There is also this weird black oily goop that is basically coming through the dashboard. All 4 of the jets begin to fall completely out the sky, and we basically see Charles crash landing. On the TV screens, we see of something called Righteous Vengeance, basically a retaliation attack because of a dirty bomb that was dropped by Iran. It's labelled as a targeted attack on an Iran nuclear facility. Charles and her team were actually on a specific mission in the mountains, and that's actually where her plane has gone down. She is being taken to a specific clinic for a traumatic brain injury. When Daniel gets there, he realises that Charles doesn't know who he is. Now we have 2 crucial characters with memory loss, one during the before times and one during the times of the silo. The episode ends very similar to how it starts. Jules is trying another meal, trying to work out if she likes it or not. Let's just say this one really isn't her taste, and she decides to throw it in the sink. When she does, she sees a little hidden cartridge with a note inside. She turns the bowl upside down and hands it back to Tony, who was waiting outside the door. We then see what the note says. Want to know the truth? Leave your bowl upside down, go to the marketplace, and burn this. The episode ends with her burning the paper and us left wondering who even sent this to her in the first place. Is it Knox? Is it Shirley? Is it Walker? Is it Carla? Or is it somebody else entirely? There is so much we have learned about both the before times and the silo just in this first episode. Jules is a puppet at this point in time. She is an archetype. She is a focal point. She is what Robert and Camille are simply using to give the illusion of peace in the silo and stop a possible rebellion. They are feeding her pill after pill after pill in the hopes that she doesn't remember what actually happened and gets that information out to the people. They tell her that Bernard died when we know he didn't, which is, I think, the saddest part of the episode for me. We're used to seeing Robert Sims in a position of authority, but we're not used to seeing Camille in that role. Now she has direct communication to this voice in the vault and is being given orders as to what to do. She is doing everything she can to stop Jules from getting these memories back, but at the same time, Jules is doing everything she can to try and get her memory back. I think it's interesting that Billings seems so distant. He was such a character that fought for truth and was so desperate to get answers. In this episode, although we didn't see much of him, he seems far more distant than he ever did before. Remember, this character has the syndrome. Do you remember he had those shakes in previous seasons? Are we going to learn more about that this season? Perhaps how to treat it or how to get rid of it for good? We even saw what they were willing to do to Gloria and probably hundreds of other people that have lived in the silo. If they're willing to do things to people deliberately to cloud their memory, what else could they be doing to other members of the Silo as well? Then we have all the information we've learned from the before times. Two very intriguing siblings. One, an F-35 fighter pilot that basically went down in a weird radioactive cloud, and the other, an ex-army engineer that has possibly built the drill that may go on to build the silos itself. The main things that I think are the most important to note down about this episode is one, the parallels between Jules and Charles and how they now both have memory loss. Was it simply the crash to the ground that meant that Charles can't remember anything? Or was it that mysterious goop that she touched that was all over the dashboard? What is it about that mysterious black cloud that led to the fall of the planes? And if it is part of some nuclear fallout from some detonation, what effect is that going to have globally, or is it going to happen again? We need to keep an eye on whoever this outsider is. I feel it's going to be crucial either to Jules herself and her regaining her memory, as well as Patrick Kennedy and everything he's trying to organise. I think it's also interesting way back at the beginning of the episode that we saw Regina Jackson handing out relics. Why does she still have her hands on relics? Is it just for personal gain, or is there some other reason why she wants specifically items of Juliette? This was an amazing episode with an absolute whirlwind of information, and there is without doubt things that I have probably forgotten. If there is anything that I have forgotten, please do comment it below. I will read through the comments as soon as I can. If the remaining episodes are anything like this one, we are in for an absolute treat of a season, and I would love to hear your ideas and theories about what could happen next. As always, if you did enjoy this, do give it a thumbs up, always helps me out. Subscribe, put notifications on, that way you won't miss anything, and I'll see you for episode 2. Toodles!